want to write it down? Yes. Yes, Mayor, we're ready. Yes.
Okay, before I begin the regular city council meeting closed session, I would like to remind members of the audience that anyone wishing to speak during public comment must obtain a number card from the city clerk. If you did not obtain a number card and wish to speak, please proceed to the back of the room and city staff will issue you a number card. I would like to call to order the regular city council meeting closed session. The time is 5:30. City Clerk Duarte, would you please take the roll?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Frometa,
Present.
Councilmember Ortiz,
Present.
Councilmember Pemberton,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Sosa,
Present.
and Mayor Trujillo.
Here. Now's the time for public comment. I remind speakers that the public comment period is reserved for comments about the items listed under the closed session agenda. There's an opportunity later in the evening for general public comment. This is a business meeting and we have business to attend to in the next hour. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to address the council regarding closed session items. I would like to remind members of the audience that the city's meeting rules contained in the Downey Municipal Code prohibit any conduct that disrupts, disturbs, or interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting. Members of the audience and speakers who violate these rules and cause a disruption will receive one warning and they may be removed from the meeting. Violations of the rules of decorum for council meetings may also result in an administrative fine under the municipal code or citation for a misdemeanor under Penal Code Section 403. City Clerk Duarte, did we receive any written public comment regarding closed session items to be incorporated into the record?
We did not, Mayor.
City Clerk Duarte, how many speakers have taken a number?
We have none, Mayor.
Is there a motion and a second to close public comment?
So moved.
So ordered by the mayor. The city council will now recess to close session under the following authorities. Number one, Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection D, subsection 1, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Susan Nallycat versus City of Downey et al., Los Angeles Superior Court Case Number 20 STCV 43275. Number two, Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection D, subsection 1, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Francisco Fierro versus City of Downey et al., Los Angeles Superior Court Case Number 21 STCV 02487. And number three, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection D, subsection 2, one potential case. We will now recess to close session. The time is 5:33. Is it on? All right, good evening. I will now reconvene the regular council meeting closed session. City Attorney Funk, will you please report the closed session action?
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, and members of the public. The City Council tonight convened in closed session and addressed all three matters on the closed session agenda. There was no reportable action from the proceedings held tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before we begin the regular city council meeting open session, I would like to remind members of the audience that anyone wishing to speak during the public comment must obtain a number card from the city clerk. If you did not obtain a number card and wish to speak, please proceed to the back of the room and city staff will issue you a number card. Lining up during public comment will not be permitted, and each speaker should remain in their seat until their number is called. The time clock will begin when you begin your comments. I will now call to order the regular city council meeting open session. The time is 6:42. City Clerk Duarte, will you please take the roll?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Frometa,
Present.
Councilmember Ortiz,
Present.
Councilmember Pemberton,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Sosa,
Present.
and Mayor Trujillo.
Here. And now to lead us in the invocation, we would like to welcome to the podium Deacon Paul Noko from Church of Christ Downey. Please come forward. Please rise.
All right, thank you for the opportunity. May we bow as we go to God in prayers. Dear Heavenly Father, our King of glory, we humble ourselves before you this evening as we have gathered to deliberate on issues important to our community. Father, we pray that you be with our deliberation, that you guide our leaders and everyone gathered here, that we discuss and come up with solutions that will make our community progress. Father, we pray for wisdom to our leaders. We pray for protection and guidance to every member of our community. Father, we pray that everything that is going to be done and discussed here today will be done with respect, understanding, to the glory of God. Father, we pray for, at the end of the day, that as we leave to our respective home, that you lead us and guide us and protect us through the night. We pray, dear Lord, that you forgive our sins as we pray all this in the mighty name of Jesus. May we say amen. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Deacon.
Thank you.
And please remain standing for the flag salute. We would like to welcome representatives from Girl Scout Troop number 275 and number 1745. Please come forward to the podium. Thank you. Whenever you're ready.
May you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Now is the time for City Council member announcements and requests for future agenda items and conference meeting reports. I will start to my left with the representative for District 1, Councilmember Horacio Ortiz Jr.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I just first want to welcome everyone here. It's always great to see a packed house. So thank you so much for taking the opportunity to come here and join us in your chambers. So thank you so much. Since our last meeting, I with my other council colleagues, helped give third graders from Alameda, a elementary school we have here, a tour at a city hall. I also conducted about 30 interviews at Downey and Warren for scholarships opportunities, which was great. I attended the League of California Cities in Sacramento with Mayor Trujillo and Councilwoman Formenta, which was a great event. I had an opportunity to discuss issues we are facing here in Downey with Senator Bob Archuleta and Assemblywoman Blanca Pacheco, and see how we can work together to tackle issues. Lastly, I attended the Alameda School of Excellence celebration with my council colleagues, Dorothy and Vice Mayor Hector Sosa, which was a great event. I have a couple asks for staff. First, I wanted to request to initiate through our strategic plan a sidewalk installation program for areas that are needed and requested. I was impressed by the street light program, so I want to see if we can add sidewalks to our city, so that kids no longer have to walk in the middle of the road. I also want to request staff to look if we can add a left turn signal on Foster Road and Columbia Way on the corner of the elementary school. And lastly, if we can ask staff to look into adding a light signal in Foster and Aldrich Avenue. And with that, I conclude my comments for tonight.
Thank you. Councilwoman Fermetta from District 4.
Thank you for that. Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. Thank you for joining us tonight. As I always say, engaged communities are strong communities. Since our last meeting, I've also attended a couple of events. First, it was an Eagle Scout ceremony where 4 youth from the city of Downey received their Eagle Scouts, and that is really a proud moment, not just for the families of these 4 young men, but for this community. We need to continue to mentor and help our youth continue their involvement in civically and continue to become stronger leaders in our communities. I attended the League of California Cities, as was mentioned, and had an opportunity as the chair of the Public Safety Legislative Committee representing 480 cities in California. I moderated a panel on retail theft and spoke to our legislators about bills coming up through the Assembly and the Senate regarding tougher penalties on retail theft. And we hope that our recommendations come through. We also had an opportunity to meet with our Senator, Bob Archuleta, as well as our Assembly member, Blanca Pacheco, and discuss areas and issues of concern to our city of Downey. At this time, that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Mayor Pro Tem representing District 2, Hector Sosa.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Good to see a semi-packed house. I did, a couple of my council colleagues did mention a couple of events that I attended, so I won't repeat those. I did get a chance to have a meeting with the downtown subcommittee as I chair that with my colleague Horacio Ortiz, and just looking for ways to improve the downtown Downey area's cleanliness, public safety, and attract patrons. Also, I did attend a sanitation district of LA County meeting. That was a real exciting meeting. I'm kidding. Also, I did attend a Eagle Scout graduation. We have, along with a couple of my colleagues, Claudia Fermetta and Dorothy Pemberton, that was awesome to see that there were 4 graduates of the Eagle Scout rank here in the city of Downey, all from Downey. Very, very impressive set of young men. I do have a couple of asks for staff. I'd like to get a traffic survey and safety survey on the intersection of Lakewood and Firestone. And also, I understand that the LA County Board of Supervisors recently asked for a most recent audit of LASA, the organization LASA's homeless outreach efforts. If that's available, I'd like to get a copy of that audit. And if not, whenever it comes available, I'd like to see that audit. And that concludes my comments, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman representing District 3, Dorothy Pemberton.
Thank you, Mayor Trujillo. Well, I had the pleasure of attending the vector control meeting. Let's see if I get a laugh with mosquitoes. And they are out in a number of our cities. Downey had 300 inspections already this year compared to 456 last year. I also attended the theater subcommittee here with our Mayor Trujillo. We are both on that subcommittee. We met with theater management, which is Venue Tech, Park and Rec Director Jason Chacon, and we went over ticket sales with the various groups that we had this season. We discussed various artists for the 24-25 lineup and who's been contacted. And so we have a good variety of artists for our diverse community. So if you have any ideas, come to us and suggest artists that you'd like to hear at our theater. Most of the theater is booked independently, but we choose about 6 or 7 artists a year. Then we have a Kaiser Permanente we went to with my council colleague here, Mayor Sosa, Pro Tem. Kaiser Permanente had a ribbon cutting of their new oncology, radiation, and MRI center in Bellflower. That's the one that's on Rosecrans and Clark. And this is a $78 million state-of-the-art facility to treat cancer. We are proud that this site and this facility will serve our local residents should they need it, but it's also for the Southern California area also. We have over 6,000, Claudia, you can attest too, over 6,000 from their fact sheet, 900 employees in Downey. With Kaiser, the hospital, the medical services, they are one of our largest employers. So we are great to have them in our community and benefit from that. I'd like to thank our Public Work and Police for placing speeding detector trailers on Old River School roads. You caught me off guard as I saw them there. A resident requested that because it's Old River School racetrack too as well. All our streets, we have excessive speeding. But thank you for bringing the speed to the attention of our residents when they're traveling. I also would like to thank DPD for pulling over a driver that was in front of me texting, and she didn't go when the light was green. And there was our patrol officer. So they're out in force, and we've asked them to be more proactive in our neighborhoods and have that visualization. So thank you. Arbor Day was last Saturday, and over 300 fruit trees were given away. So thank you to the staff, Public Works, and everybody that helped on a tree. And if you'd like a tree planted, you can go onto the website and make that request to have one on your parkway. Also, thank you to our city manager, Mr. Bradley, for always being very responsive to all of my questions. I know I have a lot, and concerned residents as well as to the rest of the staff. I'm sure I keep you busy, but I'm just 1 out of 5. This Saturday is Rancho Los Amigos Hospital Rehabilitation Gala in Long Beach, and I wanted to mention that Beverly and Sam Mathis were being honored for their many years of generosity and service and volunteering, Sam and Beverly Mathis. I have the date, but since the Carpenters group is here, Kathy Perez, thank you for everything you're doing and the team. Yes, I have my tickets. I'm going. It's every single day, but I'm not going to say anything. I won't steal your thunder, but thank you for bringing that to our city. We also I have on my calendar here to save the date, May 6th is International Holocaust Remembrance Day, where we remember our World War II veterans. We also have on the Memorial Day weekend, and speaking of our military, in Pico Rivera, they will have the Traveling Vietnam War Memorial, and I'll bring more information on that coming up. And lastly, in conjunction with the California Highway Patrol, the Downey Unified School District is doing a program called Every 15 Minutes. And on the first day, on April 30th, there's going to be a crash simulation on Brookshire, so that's scheduled, May 30th, and April 30th rather, and then Wednesday, May 1st, it's going to be in the cafeteria, a funeral assembly. So it's teaching young people the dangers of drinking, driving, substance abuse, and to be safe, especially during graduation. So thank you, Downey Unified, for doing that. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you. I also attended the City Leaders Summit in Sacramento. The biggest takeaway that I came with was that the state is broke. They're in a deficit. Usually we go to these trips and we prepare with our lobbyists to make a specific pitch on how our assembly representative and our state representative could possibly help us. We were basically told not to expect any monetary support this year because of the budget. So with that said, our focus was on services, particularly Caltrans. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but well, first of all, we are bordered by 4 freeways. And the 710 freeway, when I go on Florence and Firestone and I get on the 710, it's embarrassing. It's filthy. trash filled. So I've already texted Assemblywoman Pacheco's office, and I want to recognize someone today and welcome him to Downey. We have Ari Reese today. Mr. Reese, will please stand and be recognized. He is Assemblywoman Pacheco's new district director. Ari, we're very demanding city. We're going to be on you requesting for Caltrans to clean our freeways, please. They're very filthy, and we were hoping they'll be proactive. Let's not wait till they get dirty. Thank you so much for being here, Ari, and welcome. So we made our pitch. Let's hope we see some improvements in our freeways. The entry points to our city are so important because of the impression that they give about what our city is about. The Downey Coordinating Council, thank you to them. They meet monthly. We have so many excellent groups, nonprofits here. They're doing great work, and so they help us coordinate what everybody's doing and coming up with the master calendar. Always good to be with them. I had an opportunity to participate and attend the Bell outgoing mayor ceremony, their transition. Having Alameda Elementary visit us for the field trip was pretty cool. We got to give them a tour of Civic Center, and particularly our theater. I thought they really enjoyed that. Southern California Gas Company, it was hosting a conference. I was invited to welcome the 800 attendees to the city. And with that, and today we attended the 10th Annual Police and Fire Foundation Awards Luncheon. Congratulations to Officer Jason Estrada for being recognized as the Foundation's Officer of the Year, and to firefighter Jake Jerzikowski, young 30-year-old man. Our departments have bright futures ahead of them when you see individuals like Jason and Jake who are recognized today. So please extend our congratulations to them. Great event, by the way. Thank you to the foundation. Couple of agenda items. I know we're working on. Look, folks, I know that there's a possible 33-unit development. We all know what we're talking about. It is my opinion that regardless of whether that development comes in or not, we already have a traffic problem, particularly at the intersection of Suba and Guatemala, and it's incumbent upon us to fix that, regardless of whatever developments come in. I'm not worried about those developments. I want to make this clear. I want that intersection to be looked at. I know we're working on it. We have to come up with something, because from 4 to 6 or 7 to 9, it's just horrible. The traffic there, either potentially a yield sign of some sort, or live individuals just letting traffic through on Suba because there's less traffic on Guatemala. But I'm hoping that analysis of what options are available to us will come back to this council sooner rather than later. So I do want that matter agendized as soon as possible. I understand that it's going to take some work by staff. So can I have a second on that one?
Second.
Thank you. I would also like to know what the status of our community service officers are with the police department. I know that in the recession of 2008, we lost a captain, a lieutenant, I believe also, and we lost several CSO officers. Look, even though our population is at 115,000, the amount of people that we're inviting into the city for tax dollars, I get it. It's thousands and thousands of people, and our department, unfortunately, has not been able to grow, I think, to keep up with that. Our officers are overextended. They're being asked to do a lot. I would like to know how many CSOs we have, what's the status of the CSO program, and hopefully see if we could augment and bring those positions so that our officers, for example, just as an example, it's obviously the chief's call, but if it's a break-in, sometimes people arrive hours, days after a break-in, and the officers go out, they take a report, and they take fingerprints. I believe that if the chief is okay with it, CSOs can assist in that so that we can free up our officers to do other things that must take priority. So can I get a second on bringing back, this is an agenda item, the status of the CSO program?
Second.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Sosa. With that, I will conclude my comments and agenda items. And now we will turn to our city manager for his comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Just going back to the CSOs, we have a budget presentation coming up in about a month and a half, and we're happy to talk about the personnel in that department other additions as you might see fit as we get to that conversation. Thank you. And yes, we have been working on looking at Suba and Guatemala in that area. I know we've done some adjustments generally around that region, but we are looking at that. And staff is ready to bring that back here in the next couple of weeks, I think, or meetings. Lasso, happy to request a copy of the audit and see what we can share that with you. I will look for a couple of seconds on, I think, the traffic survey for Lakewood and Firestone. If there's a second way to look at that.
Second.
Thank you. As well as looking at some left turn signals at Foster and Artis, I think it was, correct?
Second.
And then finally, looking at including in our strategic plan the potential for a sidewalk installation program. We're having staff spec that out. Is there a second on that one?
Second.
Great. Thank you very much.
And now I will come down to do some presentations. Thank you, Agustin. Okay, so it is my honor today to recognize not one, but two of our elementary school PTAs. I think it's well known that one of the things that makes us an exceptional city is our school district. When you have a good school district, families want to live in your community. We have a school district that has a 96% graduation rate, something to be amazingly proud of. And one of the things that makes our district so great is our parent-teacher associations, our PTAs. They're active, they're organized, doing great things for the community. And today, I would like to give the Mayor's Excellence Award to the Alameda Elementary PTA. Please come down. Yes. Why don't we have President Katie Enriquez come down, and they are being recognized by the National PTA Council as a School of Excellence for 2022 to 2024. I believe that we also have some certificates provided by Assemblywoman Pacheco's office. But Katie, thank you for coming here to the Alameda Elementary Parent-Teacher Association on behalf of the citizens of Downey, my council colleagues, and myself, in recognition for this amazing national recognition. You're doing a great job. Congratulations to you and the entire Alameda School PTA. Wow. A few words, please recognize. I'll hold this.
Okay. I wasn't prepared, so I'm nervous. Thank you. I appreciate the acknowledgement, the recognition, and thank you to the entire Alameda PTA board, because I wouldn't be able to do it without anyone. So we work as a great team to make sure that Alameda students have the best and they can become the best.
Great. Any of your board members here for a picture?
Yeah.
Come on down, board. Let's take a picture. Council colleagues, will you join me? All right. Somebody could get this one.
Yes.
And you can grab this. Thank you. Want to stay for the next one? Yeah, stay for the next one, yeah? Stay with me. No. You want to do this one? Post this one? No, I wanted you to do it. I'm going to have Council Member Horacio Ortiz help us with the next presentation.
I'm going to get a little emotional right here. Through this journey in council, you find many friends, and I definitely found one in the Gallatin PTA President, Bianca. I just want to call you up here and give a certificate on behalf of the city thank you so much for everything you've done. And I'll give you a little time for you to do a little speech. So thank you so much for everything you've done.
Bianca Farina, on behalf of the city of Downey, the residents and my council colleagues, we want to present the Gallatin Elementary Parent-Teacher Association the certificate in recognition for being recognized by the National Parent-Teacher Association as a School of Excellence for 2022-2024. Congratulations. Yeah. Few words? Yeah. Say a few words, and then we'll invite your board members to take a picture. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. This is definitely a very special award. Our board is here, and when we talk about PTA, we talk about it being a work from heart. PTA is made up of parent volunteers, and so everything is done by volunteering, and we talk about paving the way, we PTA, but it's really because our students deserve the best, and we do this for them, and we want to create memories. So these awards are not just for recognition, it's for the kids so that they can know that we truly do care and we want to make those memories. And this would not be able to be done without our amazing support, our Gallatin staff, our board members, our parents, and our city recognizing us. And 13 elementary schools goes to 4 middle schools, which eventually goes to 3 high schools, and we all eventually end up being Downey Unified. So thank you again, appreciate it.
And let's have the board come down while they come down, and just a point of personal privilege. The Gallatin's where my kids went, and it's just an amazing elementary school. We're very lucky to have you doing this work. Thank you. All right, let's get a picture. My council colleagues. Thank you, sir. Good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah. So this is a big week for Downey. This week we celebrate 55 years of Richard and Karen Carpenter signing of their historic contract. Just a personal story. When I was in the 3rd grade in elementary school in San Francisco, Mrs. Rodriguez, she was actually Chinese, but her last name was Rodriguez. That was kind of interesting. She would play music sometimes throughout the day, and she would play beautiful music. And I remember this angelic voice that I would hear frequently. And I asked her, who's singing? And she said, the Carpenters. Okay. Eventually I ended up at a garage sale and I bought an album. I still have it. I should have brought it down. It's in my office, the Brown album. And I would listen to that record over and over again. I was 8 years old. I moved to Downey when I was 22. I grew up in San Francisco. I gave the guy my money. He gave me the keys and he wrote the address down. I thought I was in Southgate, but it said 11507 Old River School Road, Downey, California. It's the first residential street. If you come in from Southgate on Firestone, the first residential street is Old River School Road. I had crossed over to this city that I had never heard of. But when he wrote the address, I was like, Downey, California. And he's like, we're the home of the Carpenters. And I was like, you mean like construction kind of guys? He says, no, Karen and Richard Carpenter. And I was hooked. here I am. I'm 55 years old, and I'm the mayor of the home of the Carpenters. And to me, it's just an honor. It's so cool. Probably a little geeky, you guys are thinking, right? But this is a big thing for us. I truly believe that the Carpenters are the soundtrack to our city. And look, we have a lot of notable people, right? You can't forget Weird Al Yankovic was born here, right? Yeah, right. You have iCarly, right? You have, what was her name? iCarly? Miranda Cosgrove, right? You have the Blasters. You have Metallica. But internationally known, Grammy Award-winning brother-sister duo group, there's only one in the world, and they belong to us. So this week, we're recognizing them. We've been working hard to put together a series of events along with the organizers. They are truly the ones who conceived of this week-long, well, various days of celebration. And Kathy, thank you for reaching out to me. And thank you to the city staff, Roger, for working on this. I think we've helped. That was my goal. I'm still hoping we can get into the House on Thursday. We're working on it, all right? But I want to present certificates of recognition to the organizers of the Carpenters' 55th recording anniversary. And I'm going to call upon Kathy Perez to come down. Hey, Kathy. So you're going to help me. Go for it. Take over.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mayor Trujillo. Those of you that know me know that I love Downey very much, and I love Downey's history, and I've devoted especially my last 3 years of my life since I retired to doing everything I can to preserve our glorious history. But in this respect, as you said, Mayor Trujillo, the Carpenters are very special to Downey and to the world. And already we have in our audience tonight fans who have traveled, and we'll get more tomorrow. And they've come from all over the world. Truly an international gathering of fans are descending upon Downey this week. But I do want to say thank you, Mayor Trujillo, for all of your help over the last 3 years. Whenever I came to you about something related to the Carpenters, and I bugged you, but you always listened because, as you say, you are a fellow Carpenters fan, and you understand how important it is for our city to honor our hometown heroes and their musical legacy. So truly, I appreciate your support and guidance, and especially your help in actually organizing our own Downey committee of people. And I want to recognize them as well, because without all of them, this wouldn't have happened. Rick Rodriguez, former Mayor Rick Rodriguez, special thanks to him. He agreed to be our co-chair of our Downey committee for the Carpenters' 55th. And without him, we would not have accomplished the many projects and events that are planned for this week. I'd also like to thank Mr. Jason Chacon and Monica Ortiz from Parks and Rec for all of their many hours of just listening and helping in many different ways. Also, I know he's here, Michael Calvert, our Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce, Eric Pierce, and Alex Dominguez from The Patriot, and other community members like Patty Russell Royer, who's got some great Carpenter stories. You wait, fans. When you talk to Patty, you're going to go nuts. Joseph Luisi and Jeannie Wood, thank you for your time, your talents, and your dedication. And then as well, thank you to all of you, our city leaders, city staff, the council members who listened, responded, and helped move all of our Carpenters' requests forward. Thank you especially to Ben Dicko and Dan Martin at the library for maintaining our Carpenters collection, and they'll be welcoming our fans in Thursday morning to look at the collection we have in a beautiful display that I am so excited about. And thank you, Councilmember Dorothy Pemberton, for your extra help and support, and I know you're going to be there for many of our events. And our school district has also gotten involved. Dr. Segarra and Mrs. Andrea Pyle she's a teacher, a drama teacher at Stauffer Middle School, but she is also the director of our district's musical theater conservatory, which is comprised of our middle school students. And our youth is getting involved. They'll be actually performing at one of our concerts this week at the United Methodist Church. So I thank the district for getting involved and passing on the Carpenters' Downey story and their music to our youth and the next generation. I just have to say I'm so proud of our community. This is something I've dreamed about for a while, that Downey would really get involved in this, and it just fills my heart with such pride to see how all of the people have gotten involved. So thank you to all of you, and an extra special thanks, yes, to these two gentlemen,
Yes.
Peter
Come on down, Peter.
and Greg. Peter Daw from Canada, and Greg Kurtz from New York. So we've met over the years, past couple of years, and our mayor and other community members have gotten involved, and so we finally get to see each other in person. Chris May is not able to join us tonight, but we also had Chris helping us out. So I have to put in this last little line here. Peter and Greg, thank you for your tremendous work bringing this all to us in Downey. I think the fans are going to feel on top of the world during this 55th anniversary here in the home of the Carpenters. So thank you all.
Thank you. And of course, we have a certificate for Kathy. Thank you. Gentlemen, if you just give us a summary of what the city can expect, let them know what events we're having. Just give them a quick summary. I know it's a few days, but tell them about the website, anybody who wants information.
Wow, okay. Thank you so much. We weren't even expecting this when we initially started this whole thing. I want to say first, before I go any further, none of this would have happened without Greg. Greg has been living, breathing, planning, probably for the last 3 years, but even for the 50th, that was another 5 years ago, plus another 2 years of planning. So Greg has been living and breathing Carpenters for many, many years now, and none of this would be possible without him initiating it and bringing us all on board. So we have a fun week of activities planned. We have the Wednesday night, we have the Carpenters Legacy Concert that is happening at the Downey Theater. So we have some Carpenters fans as well as friends that are coming to perform from Las Vegas. So that will be happening at the Downey Theater. Sold out.
Almost. Yeah, in the balcony, yeah.
And so on Thursday night, we have our acoustic concert that is happening at the United Methodist Church. And some of you who may not know, that church has a lot of history when it comes to the Carpenters. So we decided to have it there for that reason alone. So we have performers coming from all over the world again, who are going to be performing a very nice acoustic show to fit in with the church atmosphere. On Friday, we have, oh yes, we are showing the Karen Carpenter story, the made-for-TV movie from 1989.
Which was filmed in Downey.
Which was filmed in Downey. And I believe this is probably one of the first times it's ever been shown on the big screen. So we have that to look forward to. And then on Saturday night, we have a reception at the Embassy Suite Hotel, where we are going to be having panel discussions. There are a couple of guests coming, Gail and Earl, who have worked with the Carpenters. They are going to be coming and doing a sit-down panel with Chris May, who recently just worked on a book with Richard Carpenter. And then later on in the evening, Chris May is going to be doing another presentation. And we have little activities that are happening in between. Anything that I'm forgetting? Yeah.
Surprises.
Yeah, surprises. So thank you so much for this tonight. We really appreciate it. We had no idea that this was going to be happening, and we just want to thank the city of Downey and the mayor for all of the support that you have given us in making this special. And of course, we have Greg and we have Kathy. We've been a three-person team, and we couldn't have gotten this off the ground in the last couple of years. So thank you so much. We are greatly honored.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. All right, picture. Let's go. All right, go ahead. When do I do that? When do I do the proclamation? Okay, stick around, stick around. So to kick off, we have an official, this is a proclamation, not to be confused with the certificate of recognition. So whereas the Carpenters were American vocal and instrumental duo consisting of siblings Karen and Richard Carpenter, who lived in Downey, California, and whereas during their 14-year career, the Carpenters recorded 10 albums along with numerous singles and television specials, and whereas in 1969, they achieved major success the following year with the single Close to You, and we've only just begun, and whereas Richard and Carpenter signed to A&M Records on April 22nd, 1969, making this year the 55th anniversary of that highly significant event. And whereas the Carpenters are part of a Downey legacy that will forever be a source of pride to our residents and to the world, now therefore I, Mario Trujillo, Mayor of Downey, California, do hereby proclaim April 22nd, 2024 as Carpenters Day in the city of Downey. Thank you.
Wow.
Official. Official. Here you guys go. Thank you so much. Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
All right.
As they're walking to their seats, I don't know if this is protocol, we have people coming, I have their website here, from New York, Alberta, Canada, Virginia, Australia, the Netherlands, Belgium, Mexico City, Mexico, London, Sweden, Singapore. This is just an incredible guest list.
That's Downey. That's right. Okay, I will now take public comment on agenda, consent calendar, and non-agenda items. If you did not receive a number card and wish to speak, please proceed to the back of the room to be issued a number card by city staff. Before we begin the public comment period, I would like to remind members of the audience that the city's meeting rules contained in the Downey Municipal Code prohibit any conduct that interrupts, disturbs, or interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting. Copies of the meeting rules are located in the back of the chambers. Members of the audience and speakers who violate these rules and cause a disruption will receive one warning and then may be removed from the meeting. Violations of the rules of decorum for council meetings may also result in an administrative fine under the municipal code or citation for a misdemeanor under Penal Code Section 403. The City Council acknowledges the right of the public to address issues that are within the city's jurisdiction and invites the public to do so during the City Council meeting. However, this right must be balanced with the need of the City Council to conduct the public business in a fair and efficient manner, free from disruption or disturbance. We expect that everyone who participates in today's meeting, from the members of the council here on the dais to staff to members of the public in attendance, do so with respect and dignity. Please refrain from using profanity, name calling, or behaving in a way that disrupts this meeting. This includes yelling, whistling, booing, screaming, and any other outbursts that disrupts or disturbs the meeting. Any conduct that interferes with or disrupts persons who are addressing the council, any conduct that interferes with or disrupts council members while they are speaking, and any other conduct that disrupts, disturbs, or interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting. Attacks of a personal nature on city staff or city council members that have no connection to agenda items or non-agenda items. I remind speakers that your comments must be addressed to me directly and not to any other council member, city staff, or the audience. City Clerk Duarte, did we receive any written public comment to be incorporated into the record?
Yes, Mayor, we did. We received 3 written public comments. The first one from Teresa Donahue, asking the city council to adopt a simple flag ordinance which permits only government flags. Second one from Glenbrook Downey HOA regarding traffic congestion and blocking of driveway on Serapis in the area of Unsworth Elementary. And the third one is from Michelle Farina, urging the council to pass a ceasefire resolution. That is all, Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a motion and a second to receive and file written public comment?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please vote. You want to read the vote result, please?
The motion is approved 4-0 with Councilmember Frometa absent from the dais.
City Clerk Duarte, how many speakers have taken a number?
We have a total of 7 right now, Mayor.
Okay, based on the number of speakers, each speaker will have 3 minutes to address the council. I remind all speakers that you must remain seated until your number is called. Speaker number 1, please come forward.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. I'm going to digress from my normal comments that I have been making the last few meetings, and I will say, I served as mayor and council member in the city of Murrieta for many years, and all of the work that you council members do, the cleanups, the policing, the parking, all of the issues that you deal with, I am reminded this evening the fun part about your job, and that is the presentations to the PTAs, the 55-year anniversary is the fun part. And I will say, years ago, before I even really knew Downey, I use an app called roadsideamerica.com. And when you go to that app, I have pictures of myself standing in front of the Carpenters apartment complexes. So I thought that was just kind of made me smile this evening. Having said that, my name is Randon Lane. I'm the Vice President of Government Affairs for Athens Services. And I just wanted to be here this evening as the city knows, its businesses and residents knows that the state has implemented SB 1383. We have been working closely with your staff, and I want to say thank you to your staff who have been working so diligently, one, to connect us with businesses and residents that have concerns. Thank you to the council for doing that as well. I will be here this evening through the end of public comment in the lobby. If anybody has any questions, comments about the new implementation of the SB 1383 that went into effect March 1st of this year, I'm happy to answer any questions. I will also be leaving some additional business cards. If anybody has any questions, comments, they can always reach out to me, and we are happy to address any questions, any concerns that you have. And with that, thank you so very much for your time, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Speaker number 2, please come forward.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Juan Martinez. I am the delegate of the 64th District, which represents 8 cities, including the city of Downey. I am also the vice president of the Feel the Burn Club Democratic Party here in Los Angeles. I want to start off by bringing some light to a few things that were said. A lot of you mentioned Bob Archuleta, and yet never mentioned that he was indicted and investigated for sexual assault against a constituent here in the city of Downey, one of our neighbors. So that's something for you guys to consider mentioning when you're talking so highly of the senator. A lot of you talked about Pacheco, our assembly member, and I was surprised to hear that Trujillo said that the assembly told them not to expect money for the roads. I'm concerned because the government has no problem sending expenditures and monies to kill innocent civilians in other countries. And it seems like when you want them to do something here at home, they don't pay attention or even care. I saw that you were appointed as one of Biden's delegates, Trujillo, by Robert Garcia. Why don't you ask him for the money, since he's sending and voting for expenditures in Ukraine and Israel, which is committing a genocide? You should ask him. I do want to bring to the attention that a lot of people of my constituents in both the city of Downey and other cities are asking me, where is Horacio Ortiz with the permanent ceasefire on the agenda? They want to know where you stand, council member, and they want to see you take action. I assure you that you don't just have to hear it from me. If you continue to remain silent, you will begin to see them come here more frequently and call you out by name, call out your businesses like El Pescador, and make their presence and their demands known. I want to address that this city council has still not ended its frivolous lawsuit or restraining order that was placed on Herman. It is an assault on First Amendment speech, and to use a case that hasn't even been ruled upon to make that decision is very concerning to see a judge take that action. And we're pretty sure that if we check that judge's background, we will find that there are problems with his rulings. Last but not least, John Askewy, who called one of our children here in the city of Downey fat during a presentation here in the city council. He's at the city of Bell now. As the city of Bell falls under my district, the 64th district, I will ensure this community that his track record will be known in that city as well. We will not let him get away with the insults that our children had to suffer here in the city of Downey because of his incompetence and his vulgarity. Last but not least, I ran out of time. Thank you.
Speaker number 3, please come forward.
Good afternoon, Councilor Ernesto Valle, District 3, 7431, Ivell Street, Downey. I was actually going to talk about one particular subject and kind of go nuclear, but I'm going to change it a little bit. And I want to thank you, Mayor, for making it a priority with regards to what's going on the island, with regards to the traffic. Traffic is I know that the Olsen Company is a secondary issue, but for you, but for the residents, it's a primary issue because it's an addition to the already constraints of traffic there, which we haven't resolved yet. With that being said, I attended the Planning Commission meeting this past Wednesday, and I was a little bothered and had some concerns and reservations as to what took place. Number one, Mayor and Council, I encourage all of you to go to the meeting. It was disappointing to know that none of the planning commissioners attended the meeting that was hosted by the Olsen Company. Now, that might be for two reasons. One, they were not aware of it. And two, maybe they received the same notice that the residents received, which was one day notice to attend a meeting to discuss their concerns about the townhomes. Not only was that meeting a one-day notice, but it was also in another city, Bell Gardens. Why wasn't it held in Downey? I don't know. So with that being said, the reason I encourage you to attend is there were some things that were brought up. Currently, I think the U.S. passed a $95 billion foreign aid package, and there was 1,000 pages, and they only were given 24 hours to make a decision. I encourage you to go to your meetings and get all the information, because as the commission, the Planning Commission was up there, they were asking questions that they didn't have answers to, and they were asked to make a vote. Part of the questions were, where is the overflow going to happen? What are we going to do? Because there's an overflow. There's the tandem parking. What are we going to do about that? What are we going to do with the overflow? What are we going to do with excess traffic? The survey that was conducted on traffic lights was conducted using an algorithm. So whomever the Olsen Company used to conduct the traffic survey, they didn't have the decency to actually go out there and monitor the number of cars that passed through the bridge. Now, Mayor, you were out there with me. You saw an ambulance that was not able to cross because the bridge, the single point of contact, was covered. So again, there was the other things I was perturbed by was that the Olsen company got up and requested to speak after public comments were done with, and they were allowed to speak. The interesting thing is that one person was allowed to speak in favor of them, and the person that was speaking against them was cut off and said public comments are closed. Why were they closed for him, but not for the other residents? Also, again, my time is up, but I do want you to be more involved. There's a lot of questions, there's a lot of irregularities that I'd like you to consider, and just be a more part to make sure that we have the right answers to see if it's a right fit. But for me, it's not the right fit.
Thank you. Speaker number 4, please come forward. Good evening.
Good evening to everyone. My name is Renata, or Ms. Messias, whatever's, I know I'm short, or whatever's easiest for you to pronounce. I'm here in regards to, I am a business owner here for City of Downey, and when I just opened my business here back in '06, was completely picture of what we are experiencing today. One, when how can we run a business with our doors locked? How can we continue our daily routine as business owners if the city council is not paying attention to whatever is very important for us? As why are we locking our doors? When we call the police department, they're not listening to our concerns. Outside my business, there's a lot of drugs going on. Sales, they steal cars, they leave them outside my flower shop. I call the city council, nobody's listening to me. Code enforcement are giving citations, and they are just looking the other way. Why are we getting citations for us advertising our business? I believe it's more important cleaning up the city, cleaning up our streets. I have little children that come walking from school to home or from school to my business. I'm afraid of my children going home, or are they gonna make it home? Because of all these people out in the street doing drugs and stealing, hitting children. My kids are sometimes afraid to walk home. They should not be afraid. When I opened the business here in Downey, it was to help my community, it was for me to make a living, and for me to help whoever I needed to help. Now I will say it again, it's so hard for me to conduct the business with my doors locked because I'm on Imperial. And Imperial is either hectic with drugs or across the street. Everybody knows Rose Street, am I right? Am I right? There's a lot of drugs going on in that corner. I don't know to close the business or to continue. One, because code enforcement are just not doing what I think is best for the small business. They're telling us to remove our banners. But if we pay for the banners, it's okay to put them out there. So is that you guys need more money from the small businesses? Or can we just continue with our banners or in advertising? But like I said, code enforcement said if we pay for our banners, it's okay to display them. But if we don't pay, then it's not okay. I am very concerned business owner right now. So I would like for you guys to pay attention when a business owner is calling the police department.
Ms. Macias, if I could ask you to, Assistant City Manager Rojas, can you please get Ms. Macias information? I'd like to follow up. So if you could please provide her with your information.
Okay. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Ms. Macias. Speaker number 5, please come forward. Speaker number 5.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Selma Duake, and I'm a constituent of Downey. I went through the Downey High school system. I played volleyball for 4 years at Downey High. Earlier this evening, you guys praised the Downey School District for its excellence. And I too recognize the Downey High School or the Downey School District's excellence in education. I was an AP kid in high school, so I actively pursued my education very rigorously. And I come here today and I praise myself for being an educated individual, but I recognize where my education came from. I recognize that my education is the result of a system that has encouraged me to critically think and observe and scrutinize the world around me. And I do not come here to speak on my behalf alone, but on the behalf of my family. I have two older brothers who also entered the Downey school system and graduated from the Downey school system. I have friends who have been disappointed by this council's inaction in calling for a ceasefire. And that is what I implore you to bring forth to your attention today. I cannot believe that we have deluded ourselves into believing that the tolerant and just position is the continuation of violence. We must condemn violence on all fronts, and even at a local level. Please call for a ceasefire, and let me know how we can draft a resolution to do so. If one of you could follow me up with, I don't know if I can ask for a response from one of you, but I've heard other fellow pro-ceasefire people say that they've heard nothing back when reaching out to you for emails or when calling. And I'd just like to know how to get that done. May I ask for a response? Is that possible? Of how I can, yes.
I'm sorry, this is public comment. We're not allowed to do a back and forth.
Okay, no worries then. Then that'll conclude my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 6, please come forward.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Marina, and my family and I have been lifelong residents of Downey, and we are here to support the neutral flag policy. We spoke about this at our last city council meeting as well, and we believe that unless the city of Downey wants to put up every other flag that represents every other group in the city of Downey, then putting up a flag that is not neutral or governmental in front of the city of Downey would be an act of discrimination and misrepresentation toward the citizens that reside in the city of Downey. And like we talked about last week, adopting a neutral flag policy would be the correct decision because it is based on the truth, and the truth saves, and the truth makes us free. And the truth is the word of God, and the truth is the Lord Jesus Christ. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Speaker number 7, please.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, Mr. Bradley and staff, good evening. A couple of comments. Number one, with regards to signs, last meeting and tonight, I noticed some signs being displayed. I don't know what the policy of the city is. Either signs should be allowed or can be allowed in here. That's fine. But if they are not to be allowed, I would think that a proper notice to those individuals that the signs are not allowed, and if they continue to do so, go to the next step. The second thing I want to talk about is I want to thank the Downey Police and Fire Department for all they do to help make our lives a better place in the city of Downey. Third thing I want to talk about is state legislators, state funding, and fiscal responsibility, and I hope to tie all those 3 comments together. Our state of California gets approximately $300 billion with a B dollars to work with. Over the years, many billions with a B have been wasted due to mismanagement, waste, and fraud. With regards to the state auditor recently indicated that the state of California has spent over $25 billion, that's with a B, over the last 5 years to take care of housing for the homeless. But the result of that is that very little has been done to follow up with what has been done. The second thing is with regards to the bullet train that's supposed to be completed. It was originally scheduled for $30 billion. It's now projected to cost $120 billion. It's an example, in my opinion, of waste. The last item is fraud. The Employment Economic Development Department has indicated $30 billion with a B. $30 billion have been lost through basically cheating. Also, many hundreds of millions of dollars have been wasted because of bad management of those things. I'm always amazed that nothing is done to take care of the people that did that. Finally, some legislators have indicated they want fiscal responsibility to be incorporated in schools. I think it's a great idea, except for the fact that I would like those legislators to, first of all, take the test and see if they would pass it or not before they give it to the kids.
Thank you. Speaker number 8, please come forward.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I am once again here to ask for a neutral flag ordinance to be established. I thank some of our council members for acknowledging the community concerns regarding this issue at our previous city council meeting. I would like to know when this item will be officially placed as an agenda item. We need this ordinance in our city, otherwise this places the city at risk for litigation. The flag that is flown in the month of June does not represent everyone in our city. I pray for every member in our city council, and I've been doing that honestly for every single one of them. I pray for you and for everyone. For wise judgment in leading our city and not allowing themselves and their decisions to be guided by their personal interests and gain when it comes to leading and representing the entire city of Downey. Thank you. Jesus loves you. Thank you for your time. And let's pray for peace in Israel.
Thank you. Speaker number 10, please come forward.
Usually after 8. 9 is what follows.
What number are you?
9.
9, thank you.
Yep. Hi, my name is Joaquin Beltran. I'm a longtime resident of the city of Downey. I'm here today to call on the city council to finally act after 6 months of genocide and silence, to actually pass a ceasefire resolution, to actually pass a resolution that includes sanctions on Israel, to actually pass a resolution that includes arms embargo. Are you guys done playing? It was really kind of amusing if it wasn't so tragic and embarrassing that you told Salma, who's a lifelong resident here, who was calling for a ceasefire as well, that you didn't go back and forth when literally 3 minutes before you were engaging with another constituent back and forth. Everyone's here. Everyone saw that. It's very embarrassing. But you're the mayor. You're the delegate, I guess. Let's talk in a very serious manner here, because you remain silent. And silent is not neutral. When a genocide is happening, when 40,000 are dead, when so many more have become disabled from bombs that are funded by our tax dollars, silence is not neutral. Silence is violence. this isn't even metaphorical here. The silence is what we get in response when we ask our city council members here to act. Just about a month ago, $4 billion was provided to Israel after 5 months of genocide. Now, after 6 months of genocide, the House of Representatives has passed $26 billion for Israel. That's our Congress member, Robert Garcia. And his staff said to me in his office that, quote unquote, Israel has a right to defend themselves. The people of Palestine, the Palestinians, are an occupied people. Research the Nakba. When an aggressor comes in and occupies land, by definition of international law, you cannot defend yourself against the people that you are occupying. You may have heard of the little girl, 5 years old, who was killed by the Israeli occupational forces, calling the Red Crescent, "I'm so scared, please help," when her family was gunned down. The World Central Kitchen, they're just there trying to provide aid. One by one, 3 truck convoys were targeted. When people survived the first one, they ran to the second van. That van was targeted. Those people who survived the second one ran to the third one. That was targeted. We need a ceasefire. We need sanctions. We need arms embargo. And stop being silent. You think it's cute? Take action. This is pathetic.
Speaker number 10, thank you.
Free Palestine.
Please come forward. Yeah. Good evening.
Hello, good evening. My name is Carlos. I am a resident of the island. I'm in opposition of the 33 townhomes that are being proposed by the Olsen Homes. I was here last week for the meeting, most of it. I left toward the end, and I did catch the ending of it on the YouTube stream, which has been down for a while. But anyway, I did send an email out to Mr. Funk and somebody in planning on Friday around noon. I've yet to receive a response. Most of you were CC'd on that. I did get a response from Mario Guerra on that. He's the only one. I don't know if he's the spokesperson, you know, for you guys, or but I hope that you guys could respond to my email, just so we can have some documentation on exactly what went down, specifically you, Mr. Funk, if possible. I could re-forward that email to you tomorrow as well, just to make sure that you get it. So we are at 546 petitions now, 546 signatures now, and we're going, you know, so there's a lot of opposition for this project, you know, and there was on the Downey Patriot, they posted something, and I don't know if you guys check social media and look at the comments, but everybody's against it. You know, everybody's against it. Somebody posted, Downey finally chooses people over profit. And then 2 days after it, you know, we get the email about a government code or something that wasn't followed. I don't know exactly what happened. I would want some clarification, Mr. Funk, if possible, on that. As an island resident, I do want to give a shout out to the DPD, you know, because they do. I walk the riverbed with my wife, and they're doing a really good job of with the encampment there. They maybe 2 weeks tops, you know, and then they go away. So we're headed in the right direction. My concern with this project is, like we're going to tear down a church, right? And we're going to put up a greedy project, right? 33 townhomes that over 500 residents don't want. I don't see that working. You know, it's just, it feels like everything wrong. It's against God's plan. I know Luis Morales last week had a really nice proposal that I think would work for everyone with the 24 townhomes. I really hope you guys consider that, get on the same page, and just scale it back. 33 is very extreme. And, you know, during my canvassing, I have talked to developers. I've talked to people that work for the county. They all think it's extreme. It's crazy, you know. So we'll be back May 1st, you know, but we're not going to go away. So thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 11, please come forward.
Okay, so continuing on with the theme of the previous speakers, it is long, long overdue for the council members, especially those who promise to be in contact with constituents like Mr. Ortiz.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Mr. Martinez, you're obstructing the view of people behind you. I just ask that you put the sign down. Thank you. Please proceed. Thank you. Thank you. Please proceed, sir.
All right, so we are continuing our...
Mr. Martinez, this is your first warning. You're blocking people with the sign. Put it down. This is your first warning. Mr. Rodolfo, you've been warned. You may continue.
Okay, so continuing again, we are concerned that Mr. Horacio Ortiz is not responding to constituents, is in fact letting them know to contact his assistant. That's ridiculous for Mr. Ortiz. Mr. Ortiz said that he would consider a ceasefire resolution from constituents. Constituents have been reaching out to him. Multiple constituents, numerous constituents. It is time to get yourself together and learn a little bit about foreign policy. And if you're going to go over there to DC with Mr. Trujillo to take pictures with our poor excuse for a congressman, Robert Garcia, you got to know something. So, you know, people are talking about Israel. So what is Israel? Israel is basically like the 51st state of the United States. It's part of the United States. There's really no substantive difference. It's a very privileged state. The United States government privileges it because, in the words of our genocidal president in the 80s, if there was no Israel, America would have to invent an Israel to protect her interests in the region. So it's the 51st state because it's the United States needs it for its empire. The United States is an empire in decline, and empires in decline have many problems like corruption, like we see with our congressperson who purchased his way through to the position. Quite embarrassingly, not even cracking 54%, very embarrassing for so much money to be spent on there. But we really are getting concerned and fed up that you people refuse to engage in this very clear and present and immediate and important issue. We don't want our public money to continue to be funding this genocide. It's really not so difficult. It's not so difficult. So there's people struggling for healthcare costs, for education costs. There's so many problems that we need more money for. And yet look at all the money that they're sending over, not just to Israel, to Ukraine, to we have this issue on the borders that people are concerned about what's going on the border while forgetting that the crisis on the border is caused by the United States empire intervening in Central America and South America, because that's what we are. We're an empire that is in decline, and now we're being completely unstable, but we need to get stable and be a good country. Let's have that ceasefire resolution.
Thank you. Speaker number 12, please. Is there a speaker number 12? Please come forward.
Hello. I'm here to also speak for the ceasefire resolution. Just to go off what my friend was saying, like, we have money and time to be dehumanizing people, talking about just, sweeping them away, and, that's a good thing, and, as if, like, these social problems are going to be solved by some kind of miracle of having enough trash cans to put people in, and hopefully they don't come out or something, or have it be some other city right next to ours problem. It's pretty dumb. But it's the same problem we see internationally. People are dehumanizing the Palestinians and acting as if this isn't happening, and as if we're not responsible for sending so much money and weapons over there when we have these problems. And that should be solved socially with housing and subsidized housing like Israel enjoys would be nice. You know, subsidized schools like Israel enjoys would be nice. And free healthcare like Israel enjoys would be very nice. You know, dental maybe, you know, it's pretty goddamn expensive. But yes, you know, we have to stop funding the genocide. There's something to what's going on in all these Ivy League colleges, all these smart students and faculty members that are protesting against the genocide. And of course, the administration, which is all sold out, like, you know, like a lot of politicians, they can take all this money from AIPAC and all these lobbyists and just, you know, stay silent because that protects them, because they can't defend the actions of Israel. Everybody here, nobody can defend those actions. So what's the alternative? Let's just be quiet and not do anything about it. But silence won't protect you. It's moral decay. That's what it is. And, you know, if that's what you choose, then let it be. But let your opinion be known. Say proudly what you think of what's happening with our money and with the weapons we're sending. You know, let us know. You shouldn't be scared. That's what you're out here for. That's what you were elected, so we can know what you think of things, so we can vote on you. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Ceasefire now.
Thank you. Is there a motion and a second to close public comment?
So moved.
Second.
So ordered by the mayor. Now's the time for consent calendar items. Are there any council members that would like to remove or abstain from an item? Seeing none, is there a motion and a second to
So
approve?
moved.
Second.
Thank you. Please vote. No.
The consent calendar is approved unanimously.
Thank you. There are 3 administrative reports this evening. Number 6, discussion regarding a regulation of political signs. City Attorney, City Clerk purview that the City Council discuss the subject of imposing time restrictions for the display of political signs during pre-election periods and provide any desired direction to city staff for further action. City Manager Bradley, is there a staff report for item number 6?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item was requested by Councilmember Pemberton. She asked us to look into do some research on political signs and their management and throughout the city. We'd be happy to provide a report overview if that's the council's will.
Yes, please.
City Attorney Funk will provide that report.
I'm sorry, do you want the report? Yes, let's hear it. Sorry, whenever you're ready, Mr. Funk. Attorney Funk, I should say. Who,
Thank
by
you
the
very
way, is a
much.
graduate of Downey High School. What class, what year?
Class of 87.
Very well. Please proceed, sir.
I guess I'm dating myself in disclosing that, but that's quite all right. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council. Tonight, we're here on an item that has been requested to come back for a report and an update on the regulation of political signs. This item was, as the mayor indicated, originally requested by Councilmember Pemberton. And tonight, I'm here to take you through the contours of that discussion so that you can have it before you in selecting any options that might be available. Lisa. Just first for some background, like many other cities, Downey maintains a comprehensive sign code prohibiting the display of outdoor signs with a permit, or I should say without a permit, forgive me. But several categories of signs are exempted from this requirement, including political signs. The guidelines and standards for the political signs, both residential and non-residential ones, appear in the Downey Municipal Code at section 9612. In 2015, the U.S. Supreme Court decided the case entitled Reed versus the Town of Gilbert. In this case, the court examined sign regulations from the town of Gilbert, Arizona, and reached the conclusion that all sign regulations, municipal sign regulations, must comply with the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. This was somewhat of a recitation and a reaffirmation of existing principles, but never before had the court spoken so clearly on this issue. They were quite affirmative and definite in making this conclusion. What this means, practically speaking, is that when sign rules are content-based, they must satisfy what is known in the law as a strict scrutiny standard. A strict scrutiny standard requires government regulations to be narrowly tailored to serve a compelling government interest. That is among the highest of standards of judicial review and First Amendment analysis, if not the highest. It can be difficult to satisfy. Again, the test is the highest level of scrutiny, and when content-based regulations are judicially challenged, it can be very challenging to satisfy. So let's just draw the distinction between content-based and content-neutral rules. Rules are content-based when they apply to the type of topic or message discussed or the idea expressed, say, here on the side. You can think of things being content-based when the applicable rule, if determined whether the rule is applicable, if it's dependent on the content of the sign or the message of the sign, that means it's content-based. And again, content-based rules are subject to strict scrutiny. The reverse of that, if you will, is a content-neutral standard. Sign rules are content-neutral when they do not depend on the specific type of message or idea being conveyed and are more universally applicable. Content-neutral regulations are subject to a much lower level of judicial scrutiny, and that's typically easier to satisfy. One example of a content-neutral regulation is the city's prohibition of all signs on public property pursuant to the municipal code. That is applicable to all signs regardless of their content, and that makes it a content-neutral regulation. Specifically, we were asked to examine the potential for pre-election time limits for political signs. So against that backdrop of the law and what is content-based or what is content-neutral, a regulation that is aimed at the display of political signs, say, for example, a limit on how far in advance a political or a campaign sign may be displayed. Let's just say 90 days or 60 days. That type of regulation would be content-based because it depends on the message of the sign. It's applicable in the context of a durational requirement for campaign signs. It would only be applicable to them. That is, if selected. It's much more difficult to survive judicial review based on the Reed case and judicial decisions even before Reed. Some potential justifications for a regulation like this include motorist distraction, visual clutter, overall aesthetic appeal. But these concerns ordinarily have to be shown with great particularity and with very robust evidence for a potential time limit to overcome First Amendment concerns. Those concerns are typically most paramount and really most essential before an election, as you might imagine, rather than after an election. Judicial decisions repeatedly describe the exercise of strict scrutiny as a heavy burden to sustain. It's important to note that cities still can regulate signs. Not all regulations are off limits. Cities can regulate signs in ways that are content neutral, meaning that the regulations have to apply to a general category or a broader category of signs regardless of their nature or message, and cannot depend on the message or content of the sign. One potential example is a category of signs such as non-commercial temporary event signs, to which regulations such as size, location, time, and number might be applied. Another perspective is that political signs can be viewed as self-limiting by their very nature. Their content is typically focused on the election to which they relate, so display duration can be naturally limited. Our sign regulations appear in the municipal code, and they're also a land use regulation found in Article 9 specifically. Land use regulations as a matter of law must first be considered by the Planning Commission before recommendation by the full City Council. So that means that any new or amended sign regulation in this respect or any others would first need review by the Planning Commission. And the discussion tonight is the potential imposition of time restrictions for display of political signs during pre-election periods and to provide any desired direction to staff for further direction. And I'll field any questions or concerns that the council may have, of course.
I have a comment and a question.
Yes,
if I may.
Councilwoman Fermetta.
Thank you. Thank you, Attorney Funk. In looking at the report under analysis, and again, I know that this was brought up to look into the period for which the political signs are put up. And right here, you indicated there is that federal case that invalidates a California municipal ordinance limiting the posting of political signs to a period of 60 days prior to an election. Correct?
Yes, there is that case that my research borne out. Now, I will tell you that case is decades in the rearview mirror, but nevertheless, it is consistent with the judicial principles in this area as they have been reaffirmed over the years, including in the 2015 U.S. Supreme Court case I mentioned.
Okay, because, and again, I think it was important for us to have staff to have a thorough examination of what we could do to manage the time. And also, I know currently we do have existing regulation that requires the political signs be removed within 10 days after the election. And I think, we just need to perhaps do a better job, or code enforcement needs to do a better job at making sure that, we're after those. I think for all intents and purposes, we just want to make sure that our city is clean and we don't have all these remnants. But I don't think we can, based on the information provided, I don't think we could defensively then put something in place that limits to 60 days if there's a federal case, and there's that 2015 case that you mentioned.
While the law does present some challenges, as you've noted, I'd be remiss too if I didn't express that the concerns that were expressed in support of this topic weren't legitimate, because they are, certainly. Visual clutter, traffic concerns, overall aesthetic concerns, and the environment that is our city, those are all very legitimate concerns. What I can say is that they are addressed in the manner that you mentioned, Councilmember Fermetta, and that is with respect to the durational requirement following elections, post-elections rather than pre-elections. What I can say about that time period is that the First Amendment concerns are less paramount following that election than are before. And therefore, that those types of durational requirements are more enforceable on the back end of things rather than the front end. But I do wish to stress that all the concerns that were expressed in support of this item are very legitimate, and that our existing guidelines do incorporate some of them. It's just that before the elections, the First Amendment concerns are ordinarily so heavy that it can be quite difficult to overcome them. But certainly the concerns are legitimate. And if we were to undertake this type of regulation, what I would ordinarily recommend is the creation of certain findings, documenting the problem, noting the concerns very specifically. I say that so if the council wishes to entertain the subject again, that we would be equipped with the evidence, if you will, to support the direction you may wish to take in this regard, because they are legitimate concerns. I guess what I'm trying to say, and forgive me, maybe I'm being a bit long-winded, is that those concerns need to be supported by evidence, so that if those regulations are judicially challenged, we may be more successful in defending them.
Sure. Well, then I think it's important for our residents to see that we are having these discussions, that we are looking at some of these issues that they've brought before us, that they're not falling on deaf ears.
And that's exactly why I did bring it up, because after the campaign election and a number amount of signs and excessive signs. And for the early start that was in August, most people assumed that the signs would start in September, but in the county handbook, it had 90 days. And that's why it was requested to bring forward that that could be reduced to just 60 days. And that would seem more like a reasonable duration, noting that motorist distraction and clutter and excessiveness, and especially with now coming into another political race in November with, nationally. So that's why I wanted to bring it forward and see what the discussion would be to have a more reasonable time, noting that it was that county 90 days that was stated before.
No, thank you very much. And also thank you for mentioning that. It's just allowing me to make a slight, maybe some clarification on that particular regulation. That is a creature of state law, and specifically a directive of Caltrans, the State Department of Transportation. And that prohibition applies specifically with respect to Caltrans or highways that are governed by Caltrans, and also within 660 feet of Caltrans highways. Now, I'm not here to necessarily defend or otherwise that regulation. That would certainly be up to the state or Caltrans to do so. But that regulation is not part of our own local law, but is rather part of Caltrans. And that I know that our clerk makes available that regulation as part of the elections packet as a courtesy, so that all candidates are aware of that as well, so they don't offend that. But that is enforced by the state.
Okay.
And I would certainly add that our clerk has been instrumental in developing this report and providing input as well. As you know, Alicia's our primary elections official, and she and I work together closely on these issues.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Attorney Funk, can you please clarify for us if currently the city of Downey has a time restriction for the display of political signs before an election?
On a pre-elections basis, no.
But there is this 90-day policy, but you just clarified that's a county policy created by the state, and it only applies to highways or specific feet from highways, correct?
Yes, highways that are governed by Caltrans. It's specifically part of the state code and a law known as the Outdoor Advertising Act, and that's where that appears. And again, I know that our clerk makes that available to candidates, so they are aware of that. But that is not a creature or a feature of our local law or our ordinances.
So hypothetically speaking, if our filing deadline for the purposes of this hypothetical, let's say it's Friday, August 9th, 2024. Can someone, a resident of Downey who intends to apply and meet that deadline, start putting up political signs in July of 2024?
Under the current scenario, yes.
Okay. In this area of the law, there are sometimes some what we call natural imposing restrictions, meaning we only usually see these signs during campaign season. So just by the benefit of it being a sign for purposes of a campaign, we only see it around campaign season. So just naturally, people tend to limit themselves to posting these signs around campaign season, wouldn't you say?
I think in the eyes of some, that is the conventional wisdom, yes.
Okay. And if we were to impose a pre-election time restriction, we would essentially be making ourselves subject to potential litigation, a violation of the First Amendment. Wouldn't that be so?
It's possible, yes.
Okay, thank you. And now post-elections, just to confirm, do we in fact have a 10-day restriction? That's a policy or an ordinance that tells candidates you must remove your signs 10 days after election?
Yes, we do.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
If you allow me just to expand too
course.
on another regulation that we do have that is applicable to all signs, and that is, and this is included in your staff report as well, but we do have a prohibition of all signs on public property or the public right-of-way. The city can remove those types of signs with or without notice to the owner. Now, typically, as a courtesy, we do provide notice to the owner of those signs, but the city is authorized by the municipal code to act unilaterally in that respect. And that is an example, as I said in the presentation, of a content-neutral regulation that is equally applicable and enforceable.
Thank you. Any council members have any further questions or comments? Seeing none. Obviously, one of our options is to remain status quo, and that would require no action. But I will now entertain a motion and a second if anyone wishes to make a motion.
I don't think there's anything we can do, so I would make a motion to remain status quo.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll
Second.
second that motion.
thank you. Please vote.
Thank you for the report, John.
Yes, thank you.
You're
Do
welcome.
we vote for this to remain status quo, or do we need to take a vote?
No, this was an item for discussion. I think that the consensus of the council appears clear.
So we don't,
I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem Sosa, is that okay? If we don't proceed on your motion, would you like us to proceed? You have made a motion, there is a second, so I just
Yeah,
need
I'll
clarification.
strike that. I'll take that back.
Motion is
Rescind, I'll
withdrawn. Thank you very much, Mr. Funk.
You're
This
welcome. Thank you
concludes
for your,
item number 6.
Consideration.
We will now move on to item number 7, which is a discussion regarding funding of the new Downey YMCA facility, including any additional city-provided assistance. Number 7, that the City Council discuss funding, including any potential city assistance of the new YMCA facility located at 11531 Downey Avenue. Before we proceed to a possible report, I believe there's an abstention by one of our council members.
Yes, Mayor Trujillo, I'm going to abstain as I am a board member of the Downey YMCA.
Thank you, Councilmember Pemberton. If you would please remove yourself to the rear of the chambers, and we will notify you the conclusion of the item. City Manager Bradley, is there a staff report for item number 7?
Thank you, Mayor. This item was a request of the mayor at our last meeting to agendize a discussion of potential funding and assistance from the city for the Downey YMCA project. Really, this evening, we're checking in with the council to see whether you would rather have staff work on this item.
Surely.
We have, as I mentioned earlier, a budget discussion in about a month, so we would be seeking some direction on whether you would like us to find a way to provide some assistance. And so again, we're seeking some direction this evening from council on how you would like us to proceed.
Thank you. So I did ask that this item be brought back to the council for consideration after reading in the paper and actually confirming with Congressmember Garcia that his original proposed allocation of, I believe it was $3 million to the YMCA had drastically been reduced to $850,000. Now I'm hearing that even that allocation is in jeopardy. I also was aware that there are certain deadlines that the YMCA has to meet in order to take advantage and avail themselves with tax credits. So with those concerns and in talking to the board, I thought we would bring it back and perhaps get an update from the YMCA as to where you're at, and then for this council to consider if we want to do anything. So at this time, I would like to invite forward a representative from the YMCA to update us on the status of your funding campaign. Please come forward, Mr. Steve Roberson.
Yeah, a quick update. Our thanks for having us here. Thank for helping us with the planning. That's going really well. Our goal is still 20 million, and we were at 14.5 raised and pledged. And Congressman Garcia's pledge of 3 million, when it got to the federal oversight, it got dropped down to 850. So that took us back down to about 12.5. We need to be at around 16 million by July in order to possibly receive a $2.5 million tax credit. So our board and our volunteers, we're working in the community right now, reaching out to past donors. We hope to raise $1 million in that process from past donors, residents of Downey and businesses here in town. So that's $1 million that we're looking at, but that still only gets us back to just around 13.5. So we're still running short of getting that 16 that we need by July in order to get the $2.5 million tax credit. So that's where we are right now.
So you predict that, well, hopefully with the community assistance, you'll get to 13.5, but
Correct.
if you still need 16 million by July, then
Right.
that would leave you shy 2.5 million. Can you tell us what exactly would happen if you do not achieve this goal by July in terms of the tax credits? What does that mean?
It'll probably roll over into the following year, we'll work on the tax credit because we have to reach certain financial pledges and donations in order to qualify for that tax credit. So that would probably roll over into next year. And we're trying to get all the money raised as quickly as we can so we can get that new facility built. It's just sitting there vacant. It's not helping anyone. You know, and not the money part, but, you know, I always say this because we said such good stuff about the school district. And my kids grew up here. They went through the Downey schools. Not Warren. Oh, they did go to Warren. Yeah. My granddaughter is the one that's supposed to be at Warren, but I think she's at Downey. But anyway, you know, this city, I've been here since, you know, my folks moved to Bell Gardens in 1957. So the old age thing doesn't work. This is the old age thing right here. And we, you know, our goal back then was to move to Downey. Everybody wanted to move to Downey. And so I've been here my whole life, and I'll be 74 this coming August. And, you know, for us to, you know, you look at this city, and the school district is why people move here. But it's because of the police department, the fire department, and the YMCA, the family YMCA that we have here. The school district did a survey recently, and in the middle school, 6th grade, 50% of the 6th graders in this school district can't swim. That's a crime. And we can't teach them how to swim because we don't have a YMCA open. So until we can raise the rest of this money and get that YMCA built, we can't help those kids. So I'm hoping that the city will consider making a donation to us, a pledge to us, which can be paid over 3 years. And that's part of why I'm here today. I don't, you know, I could be home watching. I don't live here anymore. You know, I haven't lived here in a long time, but this is still my city, and I work to try to get that YMCA built. And I'm hoping the city will think about making a pledge to us, and then that can be paid over 3 years to get us closer to that 16 million. And then we're looking, we have a meeting coming up. This is Selena Santiago. She's actually a YMCA employee.
I can speak to other funding sources?
Yes.
Great. Hi, good evening. Thank you for having us here. And I apologize, I've lost my voice just a little bit. But in terms of the tax credit, one of the reasons that we're really wanting to make sure that we can apply this year is because we are in a more competitive cycle. And so the ability to bring more funding through those tax credits to the city of Downey for this project, it's much higher if we apply in 2024 than if we wait till 2025. We can still do so, but we know that we have a competitive advantage. We've been speaking with our team members and consultants working on that to make sure that we're able to apply this year. And so that's part of the urgency around making sure we finish the campaign this year. We're also seeking funding from an array of sources. So we've approached again the state. We know they're in a budget. Obviously, we understand the deficit. We are speaking to the county, to various foundations, to corporations, and to other partners as well, along with the community campaign. And so everything is moving along in the way we need to, but because of the time consideration, we are really grateful to have this conversation and hope that we can meet those fundraising deadlines.
Right, and when Congressman Garcia pledged the $3 million, on 2 different occasions, he told me if that gets cut down, we will reapply to get the total of $3 million. And I got an email yesterday from his staff that says not only we may not get the additional funds because now our project, they've changed stuff back in Washington, D.C., so our project may not even qualify for additional funds from his organization. So we just don't know if we're going to get any more help from Congressman Garcia or not.
Thank you. Any other information you wish to provide before I see if the council wants to make a motion?
No, we just, you know, again, if the council can help us, if the city of Downey can help us, that'll just get us closer to being able to finish our project, finish the city of Downey's project. And this isn't like, you know, I'm not building 36 units over as you come into Bell Gardens. We're trying to get a facility here that helps the kids and helps the seniors. You know, we're going to have a warm water pool at that, which we've never had. You know, the seniors can't jump into the pool that we've had previously. It's too cold. They can jump in, but they don't like it. So we're trying to get a warm water pool for them and the little kids also. And we'll get the swimming lessons going and all the other activities that the YMCA does. We're still continuing to do before school and after school care. The Y is still very active here. They're working with the school district. They're going to do some summer things over at the pool at the high school. But it's hurting us by not having that YMCA open. So we need to get it opened.
Thank you, Steve
Thank you.
Selena. Thank you so much.
May I ask a question?
Oh, of course, yes. I'm sorry, Steve Selena, let me see if,
I do just have one question. So right now you're short $2 million, correct? So are you asking for the city to make a contribution or a donation of $2 million, or are you?
Well, we would take it. But if the city could even give us 1 million, paid over 3 years, that would help us tremendously. It would get us closer to that 16 million that we need. But if the city could give us 2 million, absolutely, it would more than help us get toward our goal.
And what are you planning if, let's just say, you get the million? What about the other million? What happens to it?
Well, Mayor Trujillo asked me one of the other times I came here, kind of the same question. Where we're going to get that Y built, I don't know how or when we'll do it, but we need to do it sooner than later. Our biggest donor is a YMCA board member. He still has a home here. He's probably the largest taxpayer here, and that's Ron Kohler. He gave us our donation to get this started, and I have lunch with him every Tuesday, and he said, Steve, and he's 88, still works every day, by the way. He'll be 89 in July, and he said, Steve, I want the Y open so I can at least work out one time in it. And so I told Ron and some other people on our board, I'll stay helping the Y till we get it finished. So we will get it done, but we need to get it done sooner than later. So any help you can give us, we really need it.
thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I had one question. It's actually it's a $3.5 million gap, right?
Yes.
Between 12.5 and 16. I mean,
Yes.
What is your feeling as far as being able to raise from these organizations and
Hector,
companies?
we think from our donor base in the past, we do a campaign every year to help subsidize the kids that can't afford it. We have two groups. Well, Dorothy's gone, but she's heading one of the groups. Jeremy Fitzel, who works for Ron's, heading another group. Alex Saab and Mario Guerra is heading the group to work with the businesses. From that, we're hoping to raise $1 million from that. And then we are actually, like Selena said, we have some other sources that we're trying to get some pledges from also.
Yeah, I'll just add, we have a very thorough and aggressive fundraising plan. I mean, really that looks at every avenue available to us. We feel very confident we will get there. The question is, how do we get there as quickly as possible to open the Y as soon as possible for the community? And I think from an organizational standpoint, this is a priority for the entire LAY Association. We're putting all of our energy into making sure we meet with all local entities and organizations, but also look more broadly at regional funders, regional opportunities, statewide, wherever we can find those that should be investing in the city of Downey through providing, funding for the Y to be open to provide the services to community. We are proactively seeking on a regular basis and have a very thorough fundraising plan to get there.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Sorry, no, all right. Okay, seeing no other questions at this time, I'd like to open up discussion to see if there's a motion.
Well, I'll just say that, I'll just briefly comment that, I think that the YMCA is an important presence in the community, and they offer a lot of services for families. I don't think we're going to be able to decide on a monetary contribution tonight because there's a lot to filter in, but we'd definitely like to take a look at it and see what the opportunities are or possibilities are.
Anyone
Thank you
else?
for bringing this item for discussion. And thank you, Steve and team. As a longtime resident of this community, my oldest child did learn to swim at the Downey YMCA. Certainly, this is something that we've all been a part of and we want to see rebuilt. I do want to remind our our community that at our meeting on November 14th, this city council approved to waive $296,000 in city fees so that the Y can move forward with the development. Frankly, I am very torn. I don't think we can come up with a figure at this point in time. But I want to do what the residents really want us to do. And I think about where we are with public safety, and I think about where we are with, again, more police officers. And Steve, you mentioned if a donation that would expand over the next 3 years, that could, again, we need to look at our budget and seeing Sacramento go from billions in surplus to billions in deficit due to uncontrolled overspending. I want this council, and I want to be very thoughtful as to what we do, because A, we all agree that YMCA is important to our community and to the children and the families in our community. B, we also have a city project that is also in a timeline, and that is an expansion of a space center. And then we have a finite amount of money. And I agree with council members, Mayor Pro Tem Sosa, that we cannot agree at this point in time. It would be foolish of us to throw out a number because I think we need to look at, from a budget standpoint, what it is we can responsibly do. Because at the end of the day, the decisions we make here, you've entrusted us. The residents of Downey have entrusted us with your money and what is important to you. So if we're going to pledge, whether it's $1 million or $500,000, and again, I'm just throwing these arbitrary numbers, is this something that the residents are going to be okay with? Or are they going to say, this council is crazy? They should be using those funds to bolster public safety and to hire additional police officers. And so, again, this is something that is very close to our heart, and it pains us to see that place shattered and broken. We want to see it rebuilt. But at the same time, I need us, and I personally want to be I want to do what my residents want me to do, collectively, right? I represent the people, and I want to make sure that the budget and the financial commitment, if there is another one, or if there is one rather, that is in line with what we can do. Because if we take from here, that means other services over X number of years go without. It's very simple. So these are the tough conversations we have, and we could throw out a number, and perhaps people can say, but the city has plenty of reserve funds. Again, this is how cities get into trouble. Tapping into reserve funds and then coming back and there's no rainy fund when we actually need it. So we need to be fiscally prudent and see what it is, what number, if there is a number, that we can commit to.
So, I am a product of the YMCA. My brother is on the audience, and he and I both were part of the Y. And obviously this was an important part of our lives. So I do want to go on record that as something that's important for our community, for the seniors and the youth, I do want to be part of that lead and help. I mean, that was part of my campaign, helping and allowing facilities for youth. And it's true, like right now, we can't figure out a number of what we can do as a city council. I don't think it's fair for us to throw out numbers right now, given the deadline that they have. I understand the deadline, but I do want to go on record, say that I do, as a council, at least I want to help in some way, in some capacity. Whatever that number is, I think it's important for us to make smart decisions and see how much we can do it. I know you're in a tight deadline, so I know by July, that's when you have to meet these deadlines. But we also have to be smart with how much we can contribute. So I'm interested in helping the YMCA, given how much they helped me and my family. And so I want to go on record and see how we can help and how much at a later time, and see if we can do that as well.
Well, I'm sure you have some comments, but I'll just mention real quick, City Manager Bradley, we're summing up our budgeting process by the end of next month, right?
Correct.
Okay. Yes, I would like to go back and, again, however we can help the Y, I'm interested in hearing about that. And so I'd like to go through the budgeting process and see what we can do, what we can move around, if possible. So.
Just so I'm clear.
How quickly can we have an idea?
I think if it's okay with the council, it looks like there is interest in proceeding. We would request that as part of the budget process, we bring some ideas back to you on what the contributions to the Y might be, and then you can have a conversation about the impacts and how you might want to proceed at that time.
Sounds fair to me.
If I may, I was elected citywide. I'm very comfortable spending the city's money because I was entrusted by the people who elected me citywide to spend their money how I think would be in the best interest of the city. That's what we were elected for, is to watch over the money that we know is going to be spent. And of course, we have to be transparent, but we also have to prioritize where we spend this money. When I hear about public safety, and it is very common for people to always bring up more police officers, and I agree. We always could benefit from more police officers, but in the criminal justice system, it's always recommended that you also spend some funds, some of our limited funds, on crime prevention. Sometimes it's best to spend money up front in crime prevention, particularly around our youth, to hopefully reduce crime. $1 million investment, I mean, it's an expenditure, but I see it most as an investment in the future of the city, which arguably supports crime prevention. This city does not have, first of all, let me say, we have an excellent park and rec. We provide a very robust catalog of programs. By the way, the Orbit is out for the summer, the first Orbit. Make sure everybody gets their copy. I just got mine. Excellent programming that we provide for the city, but still we lack what other cities, big cities, lack. And we're not a small city, people. We're the 10th largest city in the county of LA. It's a big city, 115,000 residents, no Boys and Girls Club, no youth center, no YMCA. What are we doing for crime prevention for our youth? I think it's incumbent upon us to spend in that area to address public safety. But most importantly, to deliver these direct services to the families that benefit. Our residents are benefiting from direct service over something that nonprofit is doing. And I'm glad to hear we have $296,000, right, in fees that we've waived. We have some skin in the game. We have, I think, $33 million in reserves, and sure, let's not touch the reserves. But this council, the five of us, control how much money we're going to continue to put in the reserves. And it always amazes me how, yes, we must save for a rainy day, but then we have dilapidated, broken streets and sidewalks. It's like the city's just saving for a future generation that's going to benefit from all that. While the residents that are here now, hardworking residents, what about our quality of life that we're here right now? We're so intent on saving money, I get it, but really at the expense of kids and senior citizens? We control how much goes into reserves in the future. They're asking for $1 million. I think they should get it. I think it's an investment. They've done so much for this city. And now the one time they need help, we're not going to do enough because we're so concerned about spending money that we're supposed to be spending for the benefit of the city. This is not a festival. This is not a street fair. This is the YMCA, which is the fabric of the city. I find it hard to believe that we're not, that the public would criticize us for spending money on the YMCA, money that's going directly to service senior citizens and kids. Is that not what we were elected to do? I think I was elected to do just that. And I don't think $1 million, we could afford it. We're Downey. I'm not going to buy into the, we can't afford it. This is almost urgent. Urgent. Every year that goes by that some kids don't have services, that some families who are just trying to make it don't have those services from the YMCA, we might be losing some kids to the streets because we didn't take action, because we were afraid to be criticized. We all knew we were going to be criticized when you signed up for this. They're asking you for $1 million, which you have, you can afford, and you don't want to put down for kids and seniors. I think that's wrong. I'm going to make a motion. I think we should grant the YMCA $1 million over the next 3 years, and we could simply doing it by not allocating those $333,000 to that rainy day fund, which is very healthy. They need us. They need us now. And I think we should take action. So I'm hoping one of you will second my motion for $1 million, divided over 3 years for the YMCA.
I don't think we disagree with you, but I simply have to have a more detailed conversation from staff as to the numbers. To me, throwing out a number arbitrarily is irresponsible.
And if I may, I think we've already stipulated that we have interest in helping fund the Y. We just, again, we have to look at the numbers, go through the budgeting process, and be transparent and make sense of it. But if it's $1 million, it's $1 million. But we need to go through the process, make sure we can do that. But we need to see the numbers first. We've already stipulated we have interest in helping fund them, helping fund the Y.
Very well. That July deadline is right around the corner. It's going to be another year, no YMCA, but that's what this council chooses to do. Is there no second to my motion so we can move on? Hearing no second, council at this point will not be taking any action. We are asking that city staff, as readily as possible, come forth with these numbers to see if we could afford this type of allocation that would be split or allocated over the next 3 years. City Manager Bradley, keeping this looming July deadline in mind, how feasible is it that we could agendize this item perhaps as early as the next council meeting?
As I said earlier, we can do as part of the budget process will be towards the end of May. But if the council wants something earlier, that's at your discretion. But that would be our intent at this point, is to bring something back as part of the budget discussion, which is scheduled for the week of May 20th, I believe, correct?
Next month.
So which is next month, correct?
Okay.
Okay.
It's a month from now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which it still meets the deadline, right? So it's still,
Yes.
as a council, like,
Okay.
just want to make sure that.
That's fair.
Yes.
So just so we're clear, City Manager Bradley, when we have two meetings in May, the 14th and the 28th, should we expect that we can have this item back on the agenda on May 28th?
No, May 20th.
No, it's the,
It'll be a special budget meeting.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it won't be with the regular meeting.
Okay, so this item, this potential $1 million, whatever the number is, we can discuss as a group on the 20th and resolve that? Is that how it would happen?
Correct. We'll include the discussion as part of the budget presentation, and the council can decide how it would like to proceed with a potential fund allocation to the YMCA.
perfect.
Thank you. That concludes item number 7. Thank you very much. Now, because of conflicts that I have with property I own in the downtown Downey, I'm going to recuse myself. Thank you to our attorney who's retreated to get Councilwoman Pemberton, and I'm going to ask our Mayor Pro Tem to take over the meeting. Thank you, everyone, for attending. This concludes my participation. Please remain for the last remaining item.
Thank you. Have a good night, Mayor. Now we'll have a discussion regarding potential options for regulating establishments, bars / nightclubs, and live entertainment. That the City Council discuss options to regulate bars and nightclubs and establishments that have live entertainment citywide, and provide direction to staff on which options to research further and bring back for consideration. City Manager Bradley, is there a staff report for item number 8?
Mayor Pro Tem, yes, we have Director Huitron to provide the report.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. At its January 23rd City Council meeting, the City Council asked staff to report back on the distancing requirements for bars and establishments that have music or live entertainment. Just a little bit of background, the State Department of Alcohol Beverage Control, commonly referred to as ABC, issues 2 broad categories of alcohol licenses, one being on sale and the other one being off sale licenses. Bars and nightclubs are required to have either a Type 40 or a Type 48 on sale ABC license. A Type 40 is limited to the sale of beer and is commonly issued to bars and taverns. And a Type 48 ABC license is for beer, wine, and spirits and is commonly issued to bars and nightclubs. Off-sale licenses are issued to grocery stores or other types of markets. At the local level, a conditional use permit process is a typical process that a city uses to regulate businesses to ensure that the operation has adequate protocols and also often are provided through conditions of approval to prevent the business from generating a demand for city services. Additionally, a conditional use permit is also required for live entertainment uses, including music uses, and in the city's municipal code, a 100-foot distancing requirement is required for live entertainment uses when located nearby residential uses, and that's for most commercial zones of the city. In Downey, there are roughly about 12 businesses operating with Type 40 or Type 48 ABC license and approximately 15 businesses with live entertainment in the city. The staff report included for this item includes options for the City Council to consider regarding the regulation for businesses operating as either a nightclub or a bar with on-site sales of alcohol beverages, not operating under the umbrella of an eating establishment, and also establishments that have music or live entertainment. In the staff report, we provide various options, with option 1 applying to existing bars and nightclubs and live entertainment. Option 1 is to continue to require a CUP, a conditional use permit, for any business wanting to operate as a bar, which is generally associated with the Type 40 or Type 48 ABC license, a nightclub, or live entertainment uses. If this option is selected, no change to the zoning code is required. Option 2 relates to the establishment of buffer zones. Option 2 establishes an ordinance to create buffer zones for a business that operates as a bar, a nightclub, or has live entertainment uses. This is a method commonly used to regulate uses from locating near sensitive uses and to prevent an overconcentration of an activity in one vicinity. If this option 2 is selected, city staff will prepare an ordinance specifying requirements for bars with or without live entertainment, nightclubs, and live entertainment uses for Planning Commission consideration. Option 3 in the staff report applies to the preparation of specific operational requirements pertaining to bars, nightclubs, and live entertainment uses. Under this option, city staff would research and provide recommendations for developing best practices that provide operational and performance requirements in order to streamline review processes. Examples of these topics, areas that would be explored would be relating to hours of operation, lighting, security measures, sound attenuation, noise monitoring services, just to name a few. If this option 3 is selected, city staff would prepare an ordinance specifying requirements for bars with or without live entertainment, nightclubs, and live entertainment uses for Planning Commission consideration. And option 4 relates to modifying zoning regulations. Under option 4, staff would explore zoning regulations that would limit the zoning districts in which bars, nightclubs, and live entertainment uses would be allowed. If this option is selected, city staff would research and prepare its findings to be presented to the Planning Commission for review, and the Commission's recommendation would be forwarded to City Council. And under the final option 5, there would be no changes to the zoning code. In order to proceed, a general timeline for any type of option that requires the ordinance preparation or the developing of best practices, staff anticipates that such studies would take staff between 6 to 12 months, depending on which option is selected. And in conclusion, staff's recommendation tonight is that the City Council discuss these various options and provide direction to staff on which option or options to research further and bring back for consideration. And this concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Huitron, for all that detail. Do any council members have any questions or comments?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Sosa. In giving background information, I brought this up early in January because of the public outcry between a local bar, Ojos Locos, the Downey High School, to our high schools, close to the residents that are being affected. There's a couple senior centers out there, condominiums, Regent Terrace and such. And so that's why I wanted to investigate what was if there was a buffer zone, what is the distance between a nightclub and one that has live entertainment and a residence or the high school? And this is now where we found out it's just 100-foot distance, 100-foot radius that's required. I also wanted to find out what other cities have done. And speaking to a couple cities at some of our seminars that I've gone to, they've had a 1,000-foot buffer zone, say between a high school, or at least 500 feet between a residence, so that the noise factor isn't there. Restaurants that are operating that have beer and alcohol licenses, restaurants are different than live entertainment. The concern right now is a lot of the live entertainment in some of the businesses that are coming into town that are disturbing the residents. Their quality of life is something that we as council have to consider as well. And one of the key areas, a sentence here that I found that really was fitting, is one of the key community benefits of a CUP is that granting one, the Planning Commission establishes conditions that the commission may consider necessary to ensure that there's any negative impacts related to a business of service of alcohol that don't impact adjacent properties. If so, then the use is not detrimental to the welfare of the community. And also the CUP process, it provides the city a mechanism to hold the business accountable for any adverse impacts to the surrounding properties and for any abnormal demand for police services. And I know we have sometimes the patrols that are coming out more frequently to some businesses than others. And that's why I was looking at trying to establish as what is mentioned here in option 2, a buffer zone, especially for the high school, to bring this up and have this discussion, because the residents want to hear what can be done or what can be prevented. Right now, we have a business in place, but in the future, what can we do to prevent something that's already occurred of this nature, that people don't feel that it was in complying with the area and the neighborhood? Same thing with residents that are right directly next to places that are having entertainment and things of that nature. So that's the discussion I wanted to have. Thank you very much for providing a lot of this detail. Again, we have some old established grandfathered in businesses that aren't becoming so noticeable to the residents. They've been there, they know how to control certain things, but it's a lot of the new ones, the outdoor space, the outdoor speakers, and things of this nature.
Thank you, Councilmember Pemberton. Any other comments or questions, colleagues?
Thank you for the detailed report, and this is a good conversation to have. Again, we can definitely look at some of the older, grandfathered into this, but I would like to potentially see us, option 1 and option 2, establish some buffer zones for future businesses.
Can we see the options on the screen?
I don't have slides for these options.
Oh, okay.
Option 1 is to continue to require a CUP to operate a bar or nightclub or live entertainment use. So the zoning code, including the downtown Downey specific plan and certain commercial zones, when those uses are allowed, they're required to have conditional use permits.
So that's status
And
quo
so
then?
status quo. And option 2 is to establish buffer zones. Buffer zones would establish potentially a distance separation requirement between these types of uses and potentially other types of sensitive uses, similar to a discussion we had a few weeks ago on another similar land use topic. The buffer zone, maybe just a little bit of clarification on some of the items in the staff report. The distancing requirement for live entertainment uses, when it does exist in the code, it does not apply to the downtown Downey specific plan. It applies to commercial zones. So the 100-foot separation, for example, would apply in a commercial zone. If a live entertainment use would be proposed, staff would ensure that there's no residential uses within 100 feet. And the downtown Downey specific plan, because the specific plan contemplates and actually encourages the the combination of uses, a mixed use zone, which would allow residential and commercial to exist in one building. That can be a little bit tricky if there is a buffer zone, because it's, in principle, it's contrary to some of the principles of mixed use zoning, which is to actually encourage the combination of commercial and residential in one development.
So for the downtown, again, based on our downtown specific plan, it's a zone. A buffer zone would be contrary. Is that what you're saying, Irma?
They would be contrary in principle.
But we're looking more also residential areas, more increasing the 100 buffer zone.
The 100 buffer zone currently exists for other non-specific plan areas. So that would already be in place. There would be no council action required to direct us to prepare a buffer zone that already exists in other areas.
Correct. So only if we wanted to increase it to, let's say, 500, or as in the maps we have here for 1,000.
Correct.
In looking at the map that you provided showing, say, 1,000-foot radius, that could encompass Dolan Avenue, not to Downey Avenue, but midway between Downey Avenue and Dolan, a little bit of that distance. And that was, for residents' concerns, that would be a distance between the high school and, say, a live entertainment and something that had alcohol as a nightclub and a bar. So that would encompass a distance between the high school. As of this time, I'm trying to focus the same thing with Downey or Warren High School, and to limit something like that. And that's with a 1,000-foot zone versus a 500-foot zone, but something better than the 100 that we have right now.
The businesses are required to get a CUP regardless, right? So it's just in case they're in the downtown area, that's when they don't have to get the CUP for live entertainment.
The downtown Downey specific plan does require a conditional use permit for live entertainment.
Sorry, live entertainment, but it doesn't for,
In the downtown Downey specific plan, when there's an eating establishment, a restaurant with alcohol, the eating establishment is not required to obtain a conditional use permit for serving alcohol.
so option one, what does that entail? I'm sorry, I missed the first part.
Yeah,
So
this staff report is distinct in the previous council discussion. The last council discussion a few weeks ago focused on eating establishments and alcohol. Tonight's item is specifically for bars, nightclubs, and live entertainment. So, for example, I don't want to point out a specific business, but like DB Lounge is considered a nightclub as far as the alcohol type license that they currently have. Though bars and nightclubs typically are not required to have food service as part of their business operation, which makes them distinct from an eating establishment. So option one in today's staff report is to continue to require a CUP for any business that wants to open up a bar or a nightclub or provide live entertainment. So no, they would not be required to serve food. They would not be an eating establishment. They would come under the land use category of bar, nightclub, or a live entertainment venue. And that's already required in the code.
it's all required.
I see you provided in the table number 4 that Santa Ana does have a 1,000-foot separation requirement to sensitive areas. And in description, what would be a description of the sensitive areas? Would it be housing or schools or hospitals?
Generally, sensitive uses are considered residential. It varies by jurisdiction to jurisdiction, but generally includes schools, daycares, residential uses, things of the like.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments, council members?
Well, I'm looking, again, at option 2. The city's municipal code does have a separate requirement for live entertainment and adult-oriented uses to residential uses, 100 feet and 500 feet respectively. Can you tell me what the 500 feet respectively is?
For adult-oriented uses are required to be a minimum distance from residential uses of at least 500 feet. So between a house and an adult-oriented business, there has to be a minimum of 500 feet.
And with a 100-foot distance, the entertainment, the live entertainment could be right behind a residential house. Generally speaking, a frontage of a house is 50 feet wide, 50 by 100, 5,000 square feet. So that just isn't that much. It's like 2 houses distance from something that's having live entertainment from a residence that was used to something that was quiet. I think this buffer zone for sensitive uses and also for schools needs to be increased from what we have existing on the books right now.
So what are you thinking exactly?
Well, I like option number 2, establishing buffer zones, almost like a hybrid. Option 4, limit zoning districts in which bars, nightclubs, and live entertainment. But that would take, city staff to research a little bit more. I'm new at making motions and things of that nature, but my focus again is to, limit bars and nightclubs and live entertainment around what the community was saying, around schools, like the Downey High situation, where it was very close and kids are walking home from school and there's, entertainment, things like that. And along with the residents, having some distance, have a quiet zone between something like that. Restaurants that operate with food and such, they haven't become such a contentious issue right now with residents.
Now, with option 1, and again, this, I'm looking at this from looking at keeping in mind our downtown specific plan, and knowing that I don't want to have a zoning change
Correct.
for that, because we've discussed this before. This is the type of mix we want. But with option 2 is establishing these buffer zones everywhere else, not including the downtown.
And putting up a certain square footage, a radius of that nature.
Because I think that the 1,000 feet that we have here, it does
Downtown, yes.
include the downtown. So if we go 500 feet,
Right. So is your intent to make sure that buffer zone does not encroach into the downtown specific plan area?
correct.
Okay, just want to make sure we were clear on that.
But it still provides the buffer zone for the schools.
As long as that line doesn't cross over into the downtown specific plan area. Okay. So I think, and I'll let the director talk about it, but I think you could include that area if you so wanted to. That way you could say I could limit, even in the downtown area, the location of bars or other things by having that buffer zone in place. So you have to just be clear to us which one you want us to look at.
I think you're
Go ahead.
referencing area around schools and stuff, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Schools and having a buffer zone, putting some distance between live entertainment and residents. Right now, it seems that only 100 feet seems to be the distance that prevents a business from, or bars from starting. I think the distance should be more, and some cities here, as we've seen, have had something of that nature in their practice. There was Whittier with 300 feet from a commercial recreation use, 100 feet, 150 from residential, but again, that's Santa Ana is 1,000 feet, and there could be a lot more, but I'd like to take some action so in the future that we don't have a situation right now where.
So you're saying, Councilmember Pemberton, going forward, for any new establishments, and are you,
Right.
how much of a distance are you talking about?
Right. Well, that's why I asked for a radius between the high school and maybe places where they walk, where, they could be limited. I see that we're coming into Stonewood is kind of far on that side, perhaps. Right, maybe 1,000 is far versus, say, a 500-foot radius, to start with something that distance.
Are we just speaking on regards to Downey and Warren, right? So we're not talking about any other schools? Because that's what that's where I'm a little scared, where it's like, how many schools do we have? And so we're just gonna put a buffer zone and basically.
I think at this point, we're proposing that all schools be included, but I think we'd look for some direction. I'm not sure if it's easy to separate out and say we're looking at just high schools, but we'll have to look at some legal ramifications. But if that's the direction you'd like us to pursue and to investigate, we could look at that, and then if there's a motion, we could bring it back with some further recommendations and research if that's the will of the council.
I think maybe more so in the high schools because the students at the high schools are older, they walk on their own, they're more independent. Usually with the elementary schools, they're picked up right away from schools. The concern was that high school residents walking home that would be in the neighborhoods of some of these bars that are live and entertainment's going on, and they felt that that wasn't just a safe issue for them walking home and from school at 4 o'clock or something like that. We can explore more or table.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to bring it back for further consideration based on the conversation tonight, and see what options we have.
But I think that the options are before us. I think we can make a motion. Otherwise, we're going to be discussing the same thing we've just discussed tonight. Option 1 is, again, there's no change required in the zoning code for the existing bars, nightclubs, and live entertainment. And option 2 is establishing buffer zones, not 1,000 feet, but maybe 500 feet to the high schools and the residential areas that you pointed out, Dee. I think those are the options that we have before us. I don't see how those would be any different if we bring this item back.
Well, what were you alluding to?
Well, I was saying, so we have to bring back something for council to actually adopt. So tonight, you will not be actually adopting anything. But if your interest is looking at that particular, as you mentioned, a council member, looking at a buffer zone of 500 feet around high schools, we can bring back maps and other items that would allow you to implement that. And then you can decide at that point if that was exactly what you wanted. If that's what you're honing in on is the 500 foot or something else.
Yes.
But that way we have the direction we need to proceed. Yeah.
Okay.
So if there's a motion for that, we'll take it. And
Do you want to make that motion, or you?
Sure, I'll make that motion as stated by the city manager.
So just clear, so it's 500 feet buffer around just high schools.
In sensitive areas the high schools,
sensitive areas?
the residential, in sensitive areas.
And
Daycares.
I think staff would be asking for clarification from council on what would be considered a sensitive area, since that can vary depending on the jurisdiction. So it could be
well, I
the
think I
ones that I
heard
just mentioned.
residential,
Residential
daycares,
daycares.
and high schools. We can start with those if there's,
Versus senior centers,
we can put a senior center in there.
that could be a sensitive
I think
area,
we're probably outside of that zone, but yeah.
but then you start to encompass
Yeah.
a whole lot, right?
Probably
Yeah.
not.
Well, again, with respect to the sensitive areas, I mean, senior centers and daycares, and why not include the grade schools and middle schools?
And the hospitals and.
So I think we need to have that come back. If
We can come back with a whole analysis of different
yeah.
sensitive use types.
Thank you.
Hector Sosa.
Appreciate that.
All right, so this time we're looking at 500 feet around sensitive areas, and you would like to have staff provide an analysis of what the different sensitive areas might be, and then you can select from that list. And just so I'm clear too, does the downtown include, is that part of the buffer? So if, for example, if the Downey High School buffer encroaches into the downtown area, is the council interested in having that apply there or not?
I'm not interested in having apply there, because then that goes into the downtown specific plan, and it's a contradictor to what we've
Agreed.
we've already voted on.
Okay, I think we got the same with others.
Right, I'm focusing more with that, specifically the buffer zone around the Downey High School, which has been a sensitive topic lately.
I think we have the direction we need. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So there was a motion and a second. Do we need to vote on that?
No, we have the direction we need. We're okay.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, Director Waitron. This city council meeting will now adjourn in the memory of Daniel Okamoto, Los Angeles County Sheriff's Deputy, Alameda Station, who died in an off-duty motorcycle crash. Jacob Fuerte, 22, Los Angeles City fire recruit, who was struck by a vehicle on the 101 freeway after exiting his vehicle to assess a traffic collision. Alfredo Freddy Flores, LA County Sheriff's Deputy, who succumbed to his injuries sustained in the line of duty on October 10th, 2023, during a fire at the mobile shooting range at the Pitchess Detention Center. And Martin Susneer, 92, Downey resident since 1859, former Downey Public Works Committee member and father-in-law of City Attorney John Funk. In a moment of silence. Thank you. This meeting is now adjourned. It's 9:18.